Right, so in today's video, what I want to do is just address a few myths to do with bent fescue lawns. Just as a bit of an introduction, there are different types of grasses. We've got bents and fescues, and we have ryegrass, and on the internet at the moment there seems to be a bit of a clash of the titans between the two, and really there doesn't need to be. Both grasses are similar in some aspects and completely different in others, and both grasses are types that you can have lots of success with, and whatever you're using, if it's working for you, amazing. However, there is a little bit of fear mongering on the internet about bent fescue, and that's what I want to talk about today. So let's start off then with lawn myth number one, and that's to do with the colour of the lawn. Now, ryegrass is a slightly darker shade of green, and when you feed any grass, ryegrass, bent fescue, whatever it is, it's going to enhance the pigment of it, and it's going to obviously turn it a much darker shade. If you look at the lawn I'm on now, this is a bent fescue lawn, and I don't know about you, but I think the colour of it looks absolutely amazing. The stripes are popping really, really nicely, and often people who want to put a stripe on the lawn, they're not just after the colour to pop, they want to have that real defined difference between the lighter stripes and the darker stripes, and this grass type certainly gives you that. So if you are someone who has had ryegrass lawns fail and wants to kind of go with bent fescue, but you're afraid the colour isn't going to be great, then I would say don't stress on it, because you can get on this with a colourant, something like Integral Max, which is a liquid you can spray down onto your lawn. I've got a video about it on this channel, not a sponsor by the way, and that's going to give you a darker looking lawn, and I'd say this for me is the perfect colour. So time for myth number two, and that's that you can't have a decent bent fescue lawn if you cut it at 20mm. Well, I've cut this at 20mm this evening, and I think this lawn in particular now looks absolutely boss. With this type of grass, you get much more lateral growth than you do vertical growth. It obviously grows upwards. All grass plants grow upwards to some degree. However, when you cut this one, it tends to start to creep this way as it sort of creeps upwards as well. But that kind of plays into an advantage it gives this lawn, and it's that it doesn't need to be cut as frequently as ryegrass because of the fact that it's going that way and that it's not going that way as much. And it doesn't matter what type of mower you use either. If you're using a rotary, then just have your height cut a little bit higher. If you're using a cylinder, then you're obviously going to be cutting your lawn much shorter, but this can be cut at pretty much any height, and that is a difference as compared with ryegrass. Ryegrass kind of has a bit of a limit as to how low you can go. With this, you can go as low as 2mm, on the best surfaces. You can cut it at 20mm like I'm doing now. You can cut it at 30, 40. You can let it grow into a meadow if that's what kind of takes your fancy. So it's quite versatile. You can play around with it as long as you maintain and manage it in the right way and you're consistent with what you do. Regardless of the height of cut you go with, it's going to look absolutely boss. Now, going back to the way the grass grows sort of laterally and less so vertically, it leads us on to myth number three, and that's that you need to verticut this lawn quite a lot. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, this lawn has been verticut once. It hasn't needed to be verticut. I mean, I did obviously verticut it once in the autumn last year, and that was to cut some of that lateral growth, but this year I've just left it to do its thing, and I thought, well, if it looks stressed, if it gets a bit of disease, then I will get on and verticut it. And I've just not needed to. I see some stuff online where it says you've got to verticut once a month, once every 2 weeks, once every week, as often as you possibly need to. It depends entirely on what you're doing to your lawn. If you're whacking down a shed ton of feed, like a shed ton, then you might need to verticut a little bit more frequently. But if you're feeding your lawn moderately, like I'd say I am at the moment, then you really don't need to. Verticutting is the solution to a problem you've caused yourself. If you're feeding excessively and get excessive growth, then you're going to need to verticut. And that leads me on to thatch as well. People think that these lawns are riddled with thatch. Thatch is there to almost be digested or broken down by the soil and by the plants, and because it's made up of dead material, that dead matter is meant to kind of put the water and nutrients and good bacteria back into the soil, recycle it, and that sort of cycle continues, giving it a really healthy lawn and a really healthy sward. If you're needing to get out and scarify and verticut quite often, again, it goes back to what we just said, you've probably fed excessively, and that's why. Whereas if you just go a little bit lighter on the feed, then it's not going to need to happen. The next myth is that bent fescue lawns are more prone to getting weeds. That myth, flip it on its head, it's the complete opposite. I have never had a broad-leaved weed in this lawn. I've not had a broad-leaved weed up in the lawn at the top, which is the exact same species. Because this plant is so unbelievably dense, it crowds out any opportunity for other broad-leaved weeds to try and take hold. Yeah, you do sometimes get power annua knocking about, because you're going to get that in absolutely any lawn, ryegrass, bent fescue, in the grid outside. But other weeds, this is repellent of. And the final myth I want to talk about is that these lawns are really difficult to manage and maintain. This is the type of grass that they use on a golf green, and that can intimidate some people because they might think to themselves, well, that's impossible. I can't manage a golf green. I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who has a normal job, a normal life, and just likes to come out and cut the lawn and get it looking fairly decent. Again, like the previous myth, it's the complete opposite. This lawn is the easiest lawn I've ever had to maintain. If I leave it for quite a few days, a week, without cutting it, it doesn't grow excessively long, and it doesn't look like an absolute jungle where then I have to scalp it right back down. I never have to apply weed killer. I don't need to verticut it, I don't need to scarify it. I've not renovated it this year. There was no renovation done. I didn't need to overseed it. Did the odd little patch where I pulled some weed grasses out, but you're talking a tiny bit of seed, not done the entire lawn. It's, in my opinion, a lazy man's lawn, or like someone called it recently, a clever man's lawn, because it's managed with the right intention, not just for the sake of it. I'm not applying a product for the sake of it. I'm not doing like a verticut for the sake of it. I'm not doing anything to this lawn to create content. Yeah, I'm creating this content now. I only do what needs to be done. And since March, all I've done is feed and cut and feed again and cut again, and the lawn is done. The rest is the easiest lawn that I've had to maintain. The satisfaction I get every few days coming out and cutting this is far beyond the satisfaction that I used to get when this was rye, coming out applying products to it on a regular basis, putting seaweed down, humic acids down, blah, 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 all that jargon. This, for me, is a much better feeling, knowing that I've permanently got a really decent lawn. So there we go. I know some people might not think some of these are myths, but these are all things that I've either seen in my comments or on forums and things in the past few weeks or so. There's no agenda towards anything, there's no hate towards anything. I'm not being paid by anyone to say any of this. I just want other people to be able to have as good results as what I've got by doing very minimal things to their space, because people have busy lives and people want to have a boss lawn without too much graft, and this one is certainly the one for you. So subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it useful. The Instagram is Novice Gardener YT. The TikTok is Novice Gardener Official. And finally, thanks for watching.